Hello and welcome everyone to pre-enrollment or information session on professional certificate in UI and UX design. So that is user experience and user interface design. So welcome once again to the pre-enrollment or information session on professional certificate in UI and UX. So my name is Rudolf Rudifal. I'll be your moderator today. Together with me, I have a Professor Daniel Rouse from Imperial who will walk you through the curriculum very soon. So welcome everyone. Before we go further, if you could tell us where you're connecting from, that would be great. You can use the chat function there. And then also going forward, if you have questions, please put your questions in the Q&A button, using Q&A button. And then I'm going to read them out loud so everybody can hear them. Also, if you're watching this from the recording, you can follow the conversation. So we got Wales in the house, so that's number one. Okay. All right, anybody else? All right, where are you connecting from? All right, I take two more. Just let us know. And of course, all right, so there's Scotland in the house, so fine. Anybody from London or UK? So Scotland, Wales in the house, okay. Just curious if there's anybody from London. Maybe you know where Imperial is. In any case, this is an online course, but still. All right, take one more. I know you can hear me. All right, so maybe later then. Fair enough. Okay, fair enough. But we won't tell anybody that you're watching this session, instead of working hard throughout your lunch break, right? So don't worry about that in any case. But Daniel is with us today. So how are you today?
Very good. Good to see you, Rudy. Hi, everyone. I will introduce myself properly in a moment, and I'm going to take you through the structure of the program and the syllabus so you can understand that fully in a moment.
Fabulous. So as I said, my name is Rudolf or Rudy Fallad. I work with Emeritus that partner with Imperial to deliver this course to you. Now, what are we going to cover today? Just very, very briefly, we're going to give you a bit of an overview of Imperial. We're going to talk about this course. Daniel will talk a little bit more about his background in a second, but most importantly, he will give you an overview of the curriculum. So you have a bit of a feel of his style, of course, but most importantly, the curriculum, of course, what you can learn here. And also, what are the key takeaways? Who is this program for? And also, what are the practical next steps in case you're interested, right? So this is what we're going to cover. We'll pause for questions at suitable time, but also we'll have plenty of time at the end, right? All right, so we get to the questions in a second. Some very big questions already coming up, so great. Now, so Imperial Executive Education is part of Imperial College in London. It is consistently ranked as one of the top universities in the world. According to the QS World University Rankings, it's number 2 in the world. So you're in the right place in case you're joining us virtually, that is. And also, that leads to this certificate program, right? It's UI and UX program. And the Imperial is about technology, it's about business and entrepreneurship. So it's a perfect program for Imperial to develop and makes complete sense. I won't go through all the bullets here. All I want to highlight already that this is a comprehensive curriculum, which includes hands-on experience with UI and UX tools. So what does that mean? You will walk away with hard skills. You will be able to do things. So this is not going to be just some sort of a cocktail party conversation about UI and UX. You will be able to deliver on the superior UI and UX experience. So this is the point here, which you will obviously feel also when you will see the commitment and the length of the program and the curriculum as well in a moment. So Daniel, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
All right, thank you. So I'm Daniel Rolls. I am Senior Lecturer for Imperial College Business School and a Program Director, which means I head up a number of these different programs. I've been working at Imperial College for over a decade, and I essentially head up lots of aspects of digital marketing as well as digital transformation. And across digital transformation, we're seeing demand for those UI and UX skills growing hugely at the moment, and we'll look at some of those numbers. I'm also a fellow for the Chartered Institute of Marketing, so we work very closely with them in developing the programs. And on a day-by-day basis, I run a business called Target Internet, and we work with lots of brands that you'll know, like Google, McKinsey, Oracle, Sony, and lots of others, helping them to apply these principles to what they do as well. I've written a number of books on the topic, including digital branding, which relates very closely to this whole UX and UI topic. And then I'm host of the Digital Marketing Podcast, where we explore all of these topics all the time as well. And while I'm here, I wanted to address the first question in there, because this is a big one that comes up in lots of different places at the moment as well, is that if people have got concerns that they're looking at UI and UX, but the impact that AI, that artificial intelligence is having on that as well. And actually throughout the program, we've woven in how you can use AI to assist you and address with these things as well. But fundamentally, the key principle that actually keeping the user at the heart of everything we're doing has become more important, not less important, as AI grows and expands as well. And I think, yes, things will change over the coming years, but what we're really seeing is an understanding of those key strategic principles of UX have become ever more important. We can use the AI tools to assist us, but actually we need people that are really being the voice of the user throughout. So I'll come back to that point a couple of times as well, but that's me, and I'll explain the curriculum in just a moment.
Perfect. Thanks so much. Now, UI and UX design, right? Just wanted to leave one stat with you. As Daniel said, we think that UI design market it will grow by 15% annually by 2032. So that's annually 15%. I wish everything in the world to grow so much. But this is why we are here, because people realize that customer centricity is not just some sort of a off-the-cuff remark or something that the management can pay lip service to, but it's essential, right? And in the digital world, user interface is playing an essential role in shaping the user experience. So this is what you will see throughout the course as well. So we believe it's super relevant. It is growing big time. So obviously the business people, they've realized that. And whether you are in an online business or not, you are definitely touched by this, that's for sure. I did talk about gaining hard skills, right? And not just some, high-level conversation knowledge of the topic. That's because we think that it will take you 15 to 20 hours a week for 6 months. And we think that you will be able to, throughout the exercises and capstone project as well, we'll talk about in a moment, you will really have a hands-on experience with these tools. You'll be able to actually deliver, right? Not just to talk about UI and UX. At the same time, we believe that you can still do it while you have a full-time job, because this is meant to be flexible. So it's a mixture of asynchronous learning and live sessions. So there will be live sessions, yes, but there is also lectures that are pre-recorded. So you're not expected to show up anywhere on Monday, 9 o'clock when you have work to do. The other thing is the live sessions are recorded as well. So in case you miss them, it's not mandatory. We don't take the attendance. So you will get the recording and the slides afterwards as well. And there is also a huge army of people in the background that will help you with any sort of technical administrative issues, and including your program leader that will answer any of your questions between the sessions or as you move along. So there is flexibility built in, but there is rigor and effort and, of course, technical skills and progress that you need to show, of course, as well. So when we already talked a little bit about the takeaways, what you will learn, this is a little bit more detail, and Daniel will tell you in a moment, module by module, what the curriculum is about. But what you should get at the end of the course or this program is you should be proficient in web development, using tools like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. But also you should be able to design and implement user interfaces. And that is using principles of color theory, Gestalt psychology, typography. You should be able to use flow diagrams and wireframes. And you should be able to research the customers and design the customer journey maps. And also then, of course, put it all together using design thinking principles. And use this to evaluate and improve your business, right? So all of these things, starting from the web design or web development, designing user interfaces, designing user flow diagrams, customer journey maps, and also then using design thinking to actually evaluate what you're doing and maybe change it so that you're doing this actually for whom? For a customer, right? So who is this program for? We thought of two potential groups that could be interested in this, and number one is early to mid-career professionals who have some background and experience UI and X, but they don't have maybe the formal training, the comprehensive training that doesn't cover, maybe it would help them to cover all of the points. Some of them they don't have an experience in or don't have exposure to. And then also at the same time, mid-level to senior executives who want to transition to these roles, right? So either the people who are mid-level or early stage and they have UI and UX experience and they want to get a proper training in this field, or it's mid-level to senior executives who don't have that experience, but they would like to transition there. So this is what we think is our target group, and you tell us as well in your questions. Don't hesitate, use the Q&A button if you have any questions. And before I hand it over to Daniel, just one more thing from me. So as I was talking about before, comprehensive curriculum, this is what we're looking at. At the same time, it's not meant to be academic, it's meant to be practical. So I'll jump to that diagram there saying real world application. How do we get there? Through case studies and industry examples and hands-on learning in the middle, right? At the same time, we'll put it all together at using the capstone project. And we know that you are from different industries, you have different experience. Many of you can bring great experience and examples to others as well. So we will do it through live sessions. We'll do live office hours. And at the same time, if you are using this to truly progress or change your career, we'll give you the career guidance as well. We obviously cannot guarantee placement, but we will do more than just say, here are your hard skills, and then go to LinkedIn and see what happens. We will give you guidance on your career transition as well. And of course, you will be part of the Imperial's network after this, and you will get the certificate of completion that you can showcase on your profile on LinkedIn or on your CV. And this is all very warmly received when people do that after they complete the program. So let's hand it over to Daniel and let's talk about the curriculum a bit more.
Okay, thank you very much. Right, let's build through block by block, but just to address one of the questions that we have here as well. At every section here, what we're trying to do is build those skills that you can practically go off and deliver. And actually, within each of the sections, there are deliverable projects that we'll be building. Now, you can apply those projects to your own organizations or the ideas that you might have. Because, for example, the question here was talking about maybe somebody wants to start a business, they've got an idea. You can apply all of these principles to your particular scenario. And then when we get to the capstone, what we're doing is taking all of those building blocks and bringing them together. So there's a great opportunity to apply this to the things that are important to you in your particular environment as well. And one question that does come out a lot, and I'll address that now, and we'll talk about it a bit more in a moment, is around the kind of coding side of things, the front-end coding, the HTML, CSS. You don't have to be a developer to do this. This is not something that you have to deep dive into unless you want to, but you do need those core skills so that you can interact with developers. You can look at code and you can analyze that code. You can understand what would be the best principles to apply in these circumstances. Some people choose to deep dive into that. Others want to understand it at that more kind of strategic and assessment and communication level as well. So you've got some flexibility in how much and how deeply you apply that, but those core principles are really important for us to understand so that we can go through, challenge, ask the right questions, set frameworks, and so on as well. So don't let that code side of it put you off. And it is built up block by block as well. So let's start off at the beginning of the program. Module 1, we talk about design thinking. The whole concept of starting with design thinking is to allow us to start to understand problems from a user-centric point of view. So we work through the process of design thinking, how we can apply that. We talk about things like the double diamond, which is about expanding our understanding and then defining our problem, ideating, and then going through and prototyping ideas as well. We then move that into really trying to understand our users. And we talk about the differences between design thinking, traditional user experience, and we really then start building out personas. And personas will be some of the building blocks that we'll use to try and test what we're creating against our particular target audience's needs as well. We then start talking about user stories, so we can specify user requirements. We can go through and look at those different use cases for taking different approaches to this as well. And then we go through at the end of this first part and try and make things KPI focused. So rather than this being subjective, trying to look at what are we actually trying to achieve? Can we measure the impacts that our UX changes are having on our business outcomes as well? So this is a very structured approach and a KPI driven approach. And the idea is that we can go through and we start with this user centric approach as well. So if we can move on to the next slide. Then at this stage, we start to build out our understanding of the market more deeply as well. So we start looking at market and competitor research, and we'll go through a step-by-step process of understanding competitor analysis and evaluating our competitors' UX strategies. We start to understand how to apply advanced user research methods, so ethnographic studies, where we actually go and observe people in their natural environments and understand how they're interacting with tools and interfaces and how their problems are actually surfacing. We go through and try and build this into contextual inquiries, which basically means understanding in context the user experience. We then go through and start moving into journey mapping. And at this point, those journey maps are going to help us to really work out appropriate tools and methods for planning out our UX activity going forwards. And we're trying to really start to build at this stage some understanding of information architecture and UX design. And the assignment in this section is looking at in-depth user research, competitor analysis to inform our strategic decisions. So if you have a particular business or an idea for a business, you can actually apply that research to that scenario, which means that you've got the building blocks that you can use for your capstone project, but also something that you can take away and use in the real world. So although you're going to be studying whilst you'll be working, actually you can apply some of the things that you're doing in your study into your real world work or into a business, as has been suggested here, that you might think about starting afterwards as well. There's a great question here as well, just talking about the program combines design principles with coding and web fundamentals. How do you balance creativity with the technical side of UX? What's really interesting is that we're able to go through in such a structured way that we have structured approaches to innovation and creativity. So something like design thinking makes sure that we bake creativity in what we're doing, but then we know the best technical principles to apply. So there's a really nice hybrid between that creativity and the technical approach that we take. And one of the really important principles about UX is that we can't just expect the creativity to happen. We can't just randomly select the technical approach that we take. We want to take a structured approach to both of those things to make sure that we bake in creativity, but also that we bake in approach for selecting the most appropriate technical approach to the challenges we're facing. So let's move on to the next slide if we can, please. Okay, so this stage, we're getting into UX design, thinking about ideating and prototyping. So actually starting to build out our ideas and prototype those ideas. Now, coming back to the question earlier on about AI, so artificial intelligence has actually given us a huge range of tools to make some of these processes more effective and actually easier to go through in a quicker way so we can spend more time on the creative and the strategy side of things. So when we start to think about designing user flows and wireframes, there's a wide range of tools that we'll look at to help us build out those wireframes now. We look at creating prototypes, but we can now go from what we might call low fidelity prototypes, so wireframes and sketches, through to high fidelity prototypes, where we have interactive versions of the things that we're creating that we can test. And we can actually do that using AI tools now much more effectively and easily than we could before, which means we get to spend more time really delving into the user experience, but also looking at the creative and strategic aspects of UX. At this stage, when we've created those prototypes, we then need a structured process to look at user testing. So we're going to go through and look at user testing sessions, getting meaningful data and insights, and trying to uncover how we might improve these prototypes as well. And we'll go through and learn the process of running a user test, some of the psychology behind it, how to make sure the results that we're getting are going to be truly effective. Then we talk about how we communicate these recommendations that we're getting and how we interact with stakeholders. And a really important part of user experience is being user-centric, being able to come up with ideas, prototype those ideas, start to build them, but at every stage of that, getting the buy-in of our stakeholders. Just to make sure that if we are asking for changes in technical platforms, if we are looking for budgets to build something new, if we want to change our approach to something, our stakeholders have clear evidence that's based on our KPIs about why we want to do that, so we can get buy-in and we can drive those projects forwards. And that's one of the really important aspects here, is that you may not be a designer, you may not be a developer, but actually having these UX skills can be hugely useful in helping you to drive projects forward effectively as well. We then get into a project week at this stage as well. And again, learning with our assignments, we're going to go through a product discovery and look at this kind of user research, journey mapping, wireframing, usability testing process. And each of these different sections have something that you create that you can then use in your capstone project, but also something you can apply in the real world. So again, going back to that idea of having those hard skills where you can actually do something as well. Let's move on again, please. Okay, now we're getting into UI methods, so the user interface methods, the theories and the practices of applying those as well. So here we get into things like color theory, looking at how different color balances have an impact on the user experience, typography, and then these Gestalt principles, which are basically just talking about how we group information together and how we build out that architecture of information to make it easy for our users to understand complex things. We go through and start looking at the different design and user interface elements. We're starting out to tools here like Figma that are used in industry, so we can apply these design patterns. And we can build pattern libraries, so we have these reusable design systems. So actually that structured approach to development, where we've worked out the theory, we've looked at the user centricity, we're starting to build out user interface elements, and we make them reusable so they can be used across our projects and in future projects from our design library as well. We then get into things like responsive design. So how do we design things to work across different devices, whether that's a smartphone, a tablet, whatever else that interface might be. And we get into really interesting topics like zero UI, which is talking about things like gestural interfaces, voice commands, using sensors, and so on as well. At this stage, we're then going to be able to establish our style guides and build out those style guides, and we'll go through the process of doing that. And that's a comprehensive process that we can apply that style guide to maintain that consistency across our different projects. And again, we get into our project week. We're leveraging color theory, typography, responsive design to implement those UI systems. And you'll have those actual assets that you can take away as well. Let's move on again if we can. Okay, now we get into the fundamentals of web development as well. And as I say here, you're not expected to be a hardcore developer and coder, but by understanding these key principles and be able to apply them, what it means is that we can define how we want to use these technologies, which technologies are most appropriate in a given scenario as well, so that we can interface with developers and we can bridge that gap between design and technology. So we start off and we understand the fundamentals of HTML, hypertext markup language, and CSS cascading style sheets, how we build web interfaces as well. We then develop that a stage further, and we look at HTML5 and CSS3, so the more advanced approaches that allow us to create responsive sites that work across multiple devices. We then get a good understanding of the different types of approaches to development. Now, it's not that you're going to have to be coding in Java and building .NET platforms, but you need to know enough that you can interface with developers and understand the impacts of your technology choices are going to have on the scalability of your projects, the speed of your projects, the responsiveness of your projects as well. that allows us really nicely then to move into APIs and content management systems. So APIs, application programming interfaces. How do we plug our systems into other systems as well? How do we bring data in from multiple places? How can we use content management systems to update and build content over time as well? And we look at their role in modern web development as well. Then in our capstone week 1 and 2, we start to bring all of these things together. So we're going to integrate that web development skills and then start bridging that gap between design and technology and bringing together some of the things that we've done here as well. And there was just a question here as well, sharing an example of a capstone project. How can learners use their capstone project portfolio to tell a powerful story for their web interviews? So for their job interview, sorry. So essentially what we're trying to do is understand a problem area. So what that means is we start by looking at the user experience. So you will select a particular business, maybe a particular industry. You might have a business idea. And what we're able to do is from the very fundamentals, who is my target audience? What do they want to achieve? And actually then understand that problem area. And then we can start to build out all of those things. So for example, I might take my own business and I might say, okay, who is my target audience? And they, in this particular case, would be people that want to learn about digital marketing. And I could go through and say, okay, we have a digital marketing learning platform. How could we improve the user experience? We would define our personas. We would go through and understand the user journey. We would go through and explain those user stories. We would come up with ideas to solve those problems and improve the user experience. We would go through and prototype them. We would do some user testing. We would then go and look at how we develop them further as well. And each of these stages, what we're doing is actually creating deliverables. We have those personas. We've mapped the user journey. We've looked at some of the code and so on. And all of this builds together into your capstone project that then you can say, look, I can understand every stage of the user experience process. I'm able to deliver actual deliverables every stage of that as well. This is the problem we've solved. And actually, here are some KPIs to demonstrate the changes in the user experience because we've done that user testing as well. So it's an opportunity to demonstrate your mastery of that kind of end-to-end process. And what you're basically doing is we're doing lots of assignments as we go through. You're selecting some of those assignments. And then what you're doing is refining those to really showcase your skills. You're demonstrating your design process all the way from research, ideation, prototyping, and testing. You've got a really well-structured and visually compelling portfolio. So what we're actually doing is using portfolio building tools. So you have a digital portfolio that you can share that actually shows your skills. And then you get guidance about how you're going to position that portfolio to gain those further kind of career opportunities as well. And what it means is you've got that real comprehensive job-ready portfolio that physically demonstrates your ability to take that human-centered approach to user experience and user design as well. Let's move on to the next slide if we can. But just before you move on to that one, if I don't mind, if I'll just come back to that other question that we've got here as well. Is there any input, please, from UA design professionals or graphic designers in this course, either at course planning level or instructional, so you could share anything about the profile? I know the Imperial is STEM in the first instance, but you collaborate on some programs of RCA. So in this particular case, what you're going to do is get input along the way for your particular career plans. And if that means you want to be more focused on the design aspects of things, or you want to be more focused on the technical side of things, you'll be pointed in the right directions to gain those kind of experiences as we go through the program as well. There are particular aspects where we look at that user interface and design aspects when we're using tools like Figma as well. And obviously you can lean towards your particular interests as you work through the program as well. Okay, I'll hand back at this stage, but I'm here to answer your questions in just a moment as well.
Yeah, wonderful. So thank you so much, Daniel, and hopefully you found this enlightening and as clear as it can be in this short period of time. Of course, if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A. We can answer them. And what I wanted to also talk about is that you do this to get some hard skills in UI UX, but if you are doing this, which we think you are, to either move up in the world or transition to a different area, such as UI and UX, you may need some help also market yourself. So we will help you with this. You can see here, we will help you how to write CVs, how to build effective LinkedIn profiles, how to prepare for an interview, and ideally also negotiate the salary once you get an offer. So this is also included as a part of the program. Or the other thing that you will get, even though I like to say it's tangible, but it's not because it's all, virtual, right? It will be the certificate of completion. So it will not be paper-based, but it will be a verified digital certificate. So it's also not just a simple PDF that somebody could copy from the internet, but this is built with some security in mind. If people want to do background checks on you, this is all going to facilitate that. So also in the social media world, people share this on their LinkedIn profile, of course. So once again, if we would like to recap a little bit, it's a 6-month program led by Imperial Executive Education faculty. It's comprehensive curriculum that, however, recognizes that you could be busy professionals, right? You have a full-time job, so it's flexible. We will also be learning here essential skills in UI and UX, leveraging AI to help us to be more efficient. That's what Daniel said several times, right? Not to replace humans, but to be more efficient. You will hear from expert faculty that is also, as you see here, Daniel is also a practitioner, right? And all of the exercises will be customer-centric because that's obviously in the nature of this program. And as I said, at the end, you will get the certificate of completion. So what are the next steps? And we'll still have time for questions, so no worries about that. But if this is clear to you that this is something that can help you in your career transition or career progression, then all you need to do is to click on Apply Online, which my colleagues also put the link. They put the link in the chat. So click Apply Online if it's clear to you that you would like to proceed. There you need to fill in some registration details, and you will be told when the next cohort starts, and you can join the cohort. Or if you still have questions, no problem. You can also click on the second link where you can schedule a follow-up discussion 101. So if you don't like to click on any of these links, you can also scan the QR code, right? So if you're watching this from the recording, probably the best thing is to scan the QR code. So once again, the one on the top, if it's clear and you want to proceed and get on the next available cohort, or if you would like to talk about this a bit more, you can. And there are plenty of slots where you can pick what suits you and talk to a learning advisor 101. So you can have a bit of a more discussion 101. And I'm going to check more questions. Anonymous is asking, how does the program help learners apply design thinking beyond typical product or website design, for example, in services or business processes?
Yes, it's a great question. So essentially, when you start looking at design thinking, the classic way that you learn is you will look at some sort of web interface, like a website, and it's a great place to start. But actually, what we try and do is get much deeper into things like ethnographic studies, contextual user understanding. So we're observing entire processes. We're looking at the delivery of services as well. So if we apply UX to digital transformation, we would normally go beyond just looking at, something like a web interface or software as a service, and actually get into what does the whole business process look like? And actually, how do we look at the delivery of some sort of service end to end and business process? So bear in mind that we can apply those design thinking principles to internal processes as much as you can external customers as well. So we certainly look at both sides, and that's where we go purely from looking at kind of a user interface through to actually looking at a digital transformation project and how that might have an impact as well. And that it ties in with there's another question here about what about someone transitioning from marketing development or project management into UX? What core mindset shift do you recommend? Well, actually, I moved from a computer science, web development, and marketing background, and then realized throughout my career that those applications of UX principles are really, really key. But I think the key mindset shift is that looking at everything from a user centricity point of view, but taking a structured approach to going through and doing that as well. So whether, at what point in my career I was looking at project management, I was looking at web development, I was looking at digital marketing, the overarching commonality between those is that we need to really say, who is the target audience? What does their journey? How can we remove friction from that journey? And that's really what's at the heart of user experience. So I think it's moving to that very structured approach to doing that as well.
Perfect. And the prerequisite is customer-centric, meaning the customer comes first. Customer is the king, they used to say in marketing decades ago, right? And startups, they understand that. If they don't focus on a customer, they're not here next week. So same goes for big corporates as well, ideally, right? So once again, you can register if it's all clear to you using the QR code on the top or the link in the chat if you are with us live, or you can scan the QR code on the bottom and schedule a follow-up call with an advisor, right? But I'll come back also to recap and what you will get out of the program. So once again, it's 6 months. It's fairly demanding in terms of hours per week, but it's still flexible so that you can do it while you're working. That means that there are pre-recorded lessons, but there are also live sessions. There's plenty of assignments and examples where you should be able to apply many of these tools that Daniel talked about. So then you have skills that you can actually apply in UI UX, not just to talk about it. And of course, it's also related essential to something very essential to UI and UX, and that is design thinking, right? So without design thinking, this is obviously incomplete. So it's a comprehensive curriculum. You will get to learn a lot, and but you'll need to obviously put some effort into this as well. So Thomas is asking if it's geared to experienced professional or not. So I'll come back to the target groups. We talked about it earlier as well. So here you see the two main target groups, early to mid-career professionals with backgrounds in UI UX who have maybe some gaps in formal training when it comes to UI UX, and then mid-level to senior executives who work with UI UX, but they are not obviously doing that, and they would like to transition to that role.
Just to add to that as well, compared to some of the kind of quick boot camps that you do online as well, the key thing here is that this is looking at the business application. So it is suited to those people that have in their mind how they might want to apply this and how this might apply to their kind of careers going forwards as well. So I think the key advantage here is that level of application and looking at how that fits into the real world. And as we build out those building blocks of your capstone project, you're able to take that business knowledge or that experience you already have and to apply that throughout the program as well.
Exactly, as it is always with Imperial programs, it's about fusion between business, technology, and entrepreneurship. So business, technology, and entrepreneurship. Yes, there are some technical elements to this. You don't need to be a web designer, of course, as Daniel said, but you will need to get your hands dirty and apply these things from a technical perspective, but with business outcomes in mind. That's why it takes longer than a boot camp. And apart, of course, there's so much that Daniel has to share, right? So any other questions, please? So I'll repeat it as a broken record in the meantime. If you're clear that this is something that can help you, then the QR code on the top is for you. And if you are thinking about this, but you're not sure about particular aspects, you can also schedule a follow-up discussion one-on-one. If you register for this session, you will get the slides and the recording as well automatically. So you can rewatch it in case you join later, or you can just look at the slides if that's helpful for you, anything you need. So once again, if you go for the apply online, it will lead you to a registration, right? So there will be a brochure there with a couple of details, nothing too onerous. Design with UI and UX in mind, I'm sure, right? So it should be all very easy, but if obviously you need a discussion, this is a big time commitment, then please talk to an advisor first. So Thomas, if people will be treated as adults in this course, it's executive education, which typically means you are expected to be an adult, yes. Yeah, so people have some experience. We said, early stage or mid-level and senior. But in any case, people already have working experience and they are professionals. And I've been also doing many of these programs with Imperial, and it's always been very professional crowd. So
Yeah, and I think just to add to that, compared to some boot camps, this is a challenging program, and it's a challenging program on purpose. Because yeah, exactly as has been said in here, there's some very basic courses out there, and this goes well beyond that, and that takes it to a very professional level.
right. And we talk about business applications, so that's why it's helpful if you have some business experience as well, or at least, work experience as well. So it's not only about technical skills or coding on time or anything like this. It's about of course, being able to deliver this, but with business outcomes in mind. Okay, so Daniel, it looks like it's all clear. So thank you so much, everyone, and hope to see you in the next cohort. And Daniel, any final words from you?
No, I think that it's increasingly important that we focus on user experience because it has such a massive impact on our competitive advantage. So I think it's a really exciting time to get into it. And actually, I think AI is really enhancing our capability in this space. So yeah, I think it's an exciting space. So I look forward to hopefully seeing some of you on the program.
Thank you so
And
much, and see you soon.
thank you for hosting. Thank you so much.